which is the college football impact players, college football playoffs. I apologize, impact players. So Bill Connelly from ESPN, one of the few guys I like from ESPN. I like Bill Connelly, the way he does his returning production, the SP Plus, stuff like that. I think that there are certain things about the SP Plus that, maybe could be better, but at the end of the day, I think that he does a very good job with it. So, but I think Bill Connelly does a good job with data and trying to track those things. I don't think there was very much data in this. I think this was mostly his opinion and kind of the players. So for me, this was a little bit less to read, but Will Howard coming in at number 1 for Ohio State. That's interesting. Alex Orji hasn't even won the position battle yet up in Ann Arbor. Number 2, Dillon Gabriel, number 3. I don't know. I would have thought Dillon Gabriel would be number 1 if you're talking about guys who are going to impact the college football playoff race more than anybody else. Dillon Gabriel kind of seems like that to me because if he can get this Oregon team humming enough and get them to upset Ohio State, well, I don't even know if it's upset. I don't remember who's favorite. I think Oregon's favorite. But if Oregon can beat Ohio State in Autzen and then or in Eugene and then also beat them in the Big Ten championship, that's going to really, if they get there, that's going to really impact things for the college football playoffs for who you have number 1, who you have number 5. And so that was really interesting to me. Drew Aller, number 5, that seemed to, I forgot Donovan Edwards. I have him as Penn State right there. I'll have to change that later on. But yeah, that was really, really interesting to me to see how he had some of these guys as high as they did. And I know that at a certain point, it's kind of nitpicking, right? At a certain point, you're just kind of nitpicking, trying to figure out some of this stuff. So I don't want to put too much of a hassle on him for, certain things here and there. And this guy could be ranked 1 or 2 spots higher just because it is so nitpicky. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you're looking at it, I don't personally see how Drew Aller is going to impact the college football playoff race more than Jackson Dart or Carson Beck from Georgia. You kidding me? Carson Beck, he's not even on this list. I know that Georgia is kind of I'm pretty sure SP Plus has them with the best overall odds to make the college football playoffs, but still, Carson Beck still has to go out there and do his job. He still has to go out there and play well in order for Georgia to make it to the college football playoffs. So I don't know. It's kind of wild to me that Carson Beck isn't even on this list and Drew Aller is as high as he is. And this isn't me knocking Drew Aller. If you're a Penn State fan, you're listening to this, you're like, oh, why is JR knocking Drew Aller so much? I'm not necessarily knocking Drew Aller. I just is Drew Aller really the piece of this Penn State program that's going to get them to the playoffs or not? I think that's more the defense, right? Can the defense be what they have been the past 2 years or what they were last year under Tom Allen? And I get it, the defense doesn't have as many of the stars as, the offense does and who the quarterback is. So, you're going to have these quarterbacks be the top people up there. But yeah, it's interesting to think about. And I'm sure Bill Connelly put a lot of time and stuff into this, so I'm not trying to knock him too hard. But yeah, that's just really, really interesting. All right, guys, I'm going to get I hate that I missed Donovan Edwards there, so I'm going to put the right one. There we go, Donovan Edwards. You got the Michigan M next to him there. Let's see what the comments are saying here. All right. Brian says, no Caleb Downs on this list. He's got to be there somewhere. He doesn't really have many defensive players at all. I think the highest one is the cornerback duo for Alabama, if I'm not. Kobe Prentice is nope, Walter Nolan for Ole Miss. Seems interesting. Mason Graham should be there. Just quite frankly, Mason Graham is going to lead this Michigan defense, and I guess you could say Will Johnson is there as well, and so maybe Ole Miss doesn't have as much star power on the defense, but I still think Mason Graham is going to be such a big piece of this, and I agree. I agree, Brian. Caleb Downs is going to be a huge piece. I don't know how you put James Pearce or the Alabama cornerback duo between Jackson and Jones. I don't know how you put them ahead of him. I would love to hear Bill Connelly's thoughts on why he has them that high. Brian also says maybe he doesn't include Downs because despite how great of a player he is, it's not a weak spot for them, whereas quarterback, running back, and wide receiver were areas of need. It's possible. That is definitely a possibility. He does have Quinshon Judkins, the wide receiver duo of J.J. Smith and Carnell Tate in there, as well as Will Howard at number one. So, yeah, but I still just I look at the other defensive players on here, and I just think, Ohio State needs their defense to be as good as they were last year, in my opinion. So, yeah, I don't know. Very, very interesting to try to think about this. Some of the ones that are not Big Ten that I thought were interesting, Graham Mertz, I was really surprised to see him at 19th. But if you think about it, if Graham Mertz can pull off an upset here or there, I mean, depending on how that team does, that could spoil the college football playoff race for a team or two, right? They play all these difficult teams who are going to be considered for the college football playoffs pretty heavily. If Graham Mertz is able to have just a game where he goes off and just destroys some of these teams, it could happen. Travis Hunter, you guys tell me. Let me know in the comments. Is he just like a token? Colorado is not making the playoffs. Colorado is not playing anybody that is going to make the playoffs. Travis Hunter is irrelevant in the college football playoffs. I'm just going to say it. Like, he is completely irrelevant. Colorado is completely irrelevant. It is just click farming at this point, putting anything Colorado related in an article that has to do with the college football playoffs. I cannot begin, I can't even begin to tell you how dishonest it is to include anybody from Colorado in as an impact person. You guys tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing something here, but it is just pure click farming to say Travis Hunter is going to be an impact player, one of the top 25 impact. There's hundreds of thousands of players in college football. There's hundreds of players on teams that are going to be considered for the college football playoffs. There's hundreds of players on teams that are going to be playing against teams who go to the college football playoffs. No, Travis Hunter, somebody who was on a 4-8 team last year, who people got excited about because they beat TCU, who wasn't any good. It is absolutely baffling that somebody would even think to put a Colorado player on this list. Now, if you're talking about NFL talent as a prospect, sure, he belongs on those lists. But if you're talking about making an impact, Travis Hunter's play this year will be irrelevant to the college football playoffs. You can bookmark that, screen record me saying that. That is the absolute truth. He's not going to play anybody that is even considered in the playoffs. The closest thing he's going to play is whoever wins the Big 12. I think they play Utah this year. But is Travis Hunter really going to be the sole reason that Colorado beats Utah or somebody? And then Utah, I don't know. I don't see it either. Rob Myers says you can include Georgia Tech in that too, irrelevant to the college football playoffs. Yeah, I don't see the reasoning for Haynes King there. I mean, I don't know Georgia Tech's schedule off the top of my head. I know Colorado's a little bit better, but I can see Graham Mertz because Florida plays a bunch of really tough teams. You could play spoiler to a team, and a team could get left out because they lost 2 games and one of them was to Florida. I could see that happening. Does Georgia Tech do that? I mean, Haynes King beats Georgia. Okay, they're ranked 5th instead of 1st. Like, I don't see the rationale there.